Welcome back to Tropico 6. I am, as always, Verso, and today I want to talk a little bit about revolutionary support. And specifically, I'm going to try to answer what I've noticed to be sort of a frequently asked question, which is, how the heck do you increase the percentage of revolutionary Tropicans? So notice that I'm not talking about how you go about getting the revolutionaries to actually like you, because that's an entirely different problem, with which I won't be concerning myself today. But for now, we're going to assume that they already love your governor, and you're ready to put the crown in your rearview mirror and enter the World Wars era. So how do you get more revolutionaries as a share of your total population? And for the record, you can always check exactly how many you've got by clicking onto the almanac and selecting your politics tab. So we can see at the moment I have 102, and that's roughly 54% of my population. So this is a very specific problem, I realize that, but it's something that tends to plague people who aren't familiar with the game, and it's just really sometimes the little things that can trip up a new player in general, or even a player like me with moderate experience who maybe isn't paying the closest attention. Yep, I've been guilty of that. So, you know, I mean, understandably, Penultimo, he kind of acts like this Presidente thing is a foregone conclusion, and that can go to your head. Maybe you're not really sweating Lord Wyndham's request for a while until you glance over at your colonial mandate and notice that you've got slightly more than a year left to it. So, you know, wah wah. Admittedly, when this happened to me on the Pirate King mission, I could have purchased an extension to my mandate, but at the end of the day, why would you want to continue answering to this guy, right? And his incessant request for more, Governor. Always more. I mean, his attitude, it just kind of wears thin, is what I'm saying. But with that said, there are a number of ways to manage your revolutionary population, and the simplest being to merely complete the revolutionary demands, of course, which allows you to take in 10 revolutionary immigrants each time as a reward. And you're probably already doing this, but you know, there may be times when the revolutionaries want you to build a corn plantation on a completely barren island, for example, or maybe you just don't feel like finding jobs and housing for new citizens, because I've been there many times. I don't know, I mean, you've got your reasons, probably. I certainly have mine. So how do we convert the Tropicans who are already living here? And if you're watching this video, then something you might not have noticed is that political propaganda is actually a vital function of the newspaper building, and media buildings in general, but the newspaper is the only media structure to which you have access during the Colonial Era, so that's the one that you're going to be using, and those are, for the record, underneath the Media and Education tab on your build menu. So by constructing newspaper buildings in proximity to your population hubs, and these have pretty sizable radiuses, radii, anyway, and building these close to your population hubs, and you can have as many of these as you want, though there are diminishing returns when coverage areas overlap. But you can slowly start cultivating your population's specific opinions through various work modes. So for example, right now I've got my work mode set to the independent, which is the one that kind of slowly turns people toward the revolutionary mindset. So the tooltip on this says that each citizen has a 25% chance to change his or her political views upon resting, and even though I kind of want this to be a little bit more complex than it claims, I kind of suspect that it isn't any more complex than that. But you may be wondering what this means in real terms, right? Or at least I was wondering that. Anyway, during my testing of this during the Pirate King mission, what I found was that revolutionary support specifically ticked up by about 5 points per year when I had this mode set. Very roughly though. So a note about this, you may be wondering about efficiency in the newspaper building. And if you click over to the efficiency tab, you'll notice that it only really mentions the effect on the scaling of the liberty bonus, which is what you get from running the default open mind work mode. But it would make sense if it also affected the propaganda bonus, right? I mean, it would have made sense to me anyway, but sadly, that doesn't seem to be the case. So, with that said, running at normal efficiency or full efficiency, I always saw support kind of tick up from 54 to 60 within about a year to a year and a half, something in that area. And that is, by the way, with complete coverage, since I had these on all of my little population centers. So maybe on a longer term horizon, you'd be able to prove some sort of difference between the efficiency modes, but I'm inclined to say that since it isn't mentioned, efficiency probably doesn't factor into political conversion rate at all. But, as always, please let me know if I should stand corrected. Okay, with all of that said, even regardless of its propaganda uses, I just kind of wanted to take a second to proselytize for getting your newspaper buildings placed well before you need them. Because by turning on the penny saver work mode, these things basically pay for themselves, since you're earning income on the Tropicans who live within its radius. So that, by the way, shows up on your revenue tab underneath miscellaneous as advertising revenue. So there's no reason not to have these things. As I said, they pay for themselves. At low population densities like this, well, maybe you really just break even. It's possible you might even lose a little bit of money. But later on, once you get higher density buildings, they can get pretty decent, I think. And at least for me, I kind of like to get these things slotted in early so that I don't have to move buildings around later. Also, it probably goes without saying that these things come in handy before elections so that you can nudge people over to whichever party likes you the most at any given time. So that's pretty nice. And that is that. So what did I miss? What did I get wrong? Go ahead and let me know in the comments. Otherwise, go forth, conquer, and keep it casual, but play smarter.
The people of Tropico love you almost as much as I do, Governor. We have such exquisite taste.